Most people don't realize this. Poverty is not just about money. It's about habits. It's about the small, invisible choices repeated day after day that slowly shape your future. And here's the brutal truth. If you don't break the habits that are keeping you poor, you will never escape them. Today, I'm going to reveal the most destructive habits that silently steal your wealth, your time, and your potential. And more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to break free from them, starting right now. So, if you're serious about changing your life, if you're ready to break the cycle of financial struggle, stay with me until the very end of this video. One of the most destructive habits that keeps people poor is living without a budget. Think about it. Would you ever build a house without a blueprint? Would you ever start a long road trip without a map or GPS? Of course not. And yet, millions of people live their entire lives with no financial plan, no structure, and no clarity about where their money goes. When you don't have a budget, you're driving your financial life blindfolded. Every dollar you earn comes in, and every dollar goes out, often without you even realizing it. At the end of the month, you look at your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? And the answer is simple. It slipped through your fingers because you weren't paying attention. Tracy once said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This truth applies perfectly to money. You cannot manage what you don't track. Without a budget, you have no control over your spending, no strategy for saving, and no direction for your financial goals. You become a victim of your impulses and external pressures. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you earn $2,000 a month. Without a budget, you pay your bills, you buy food, you go out with friends, maybe you buy that new gadget you've been wanting. By the time you look back, you've spent $1,950. You saved nothing. You invested nothing. You built nothing for your future. And the cycle repeats month after month, year after year. Now let's flip the scenario. Imagine the same $2,000 a month, but this time you create a simple budget. You decide that 50% goes to necessities like rent, utilities, and food. You allocate 20% to savings and investments. You put 20% toward growth, like books, courses, or building a side business. And the last 10% goes to lifestyle, entertainment, or anything you enjoy. By doing this, you take control of your money. Every dollar has a purpose. Every dollar works for you instead of against you. The wealthy understand this principle. They know that money is a tool, and if you don't direct it, it will disappear. That's why they track every expense, every source of income, and every opportunity to grow their wealth. Poor people, on the other hand, avoid the discipline of budgeting. They tell themselves it's boring, it's too much work, or they'll do it later. But later never comes, and that habit of neglect keeps them trapped in a cycle of financial struggle. Here's the reality. Creating a budget is not about restriction, it's about freedom. A budget is not a cage, it is a plan. It gives you peace of mind because you know exactly where your money is going. It allows you to save for emergencies, invest for the future, and still enjoy life today. It takes away the stress of living paycheck to paycheck. If you truly want to break free from poverty, start with this simple step. Write down every dollar you earn and every dollar you spend for the next 30 days. At the end of the month, review it. You'll be shocked at how much money leaks away through small, unnecessary purchases. Coffee here, fast food there, subscriptions you don't use, impulse buys you don't need. These tiny leaks add up to thousands of dollars every year. Money that could have been invested, saved, or used to build something meaningful. Remember this, money flows to those who respect it. When you respect your money enough to give it a plan, it begins to multiply. When you ignore it, it disappears. Living without a budget is not just careless, it is dangerous. It guarantees that you will never build wealth, no matter how much you earn. So make the decision today. Sit down, grab a piece of paper, or use a budgeting app, and create a plan for your money. Direct every dollar with intention. Give your money a job, because if you don't, it will find its own way out of your life. Break the habit of living without a budget, and you will unlock the foundation of financial freedom. This is the first step toward breaking free from poverty and building the life you truly deserve. Another powerful habit that keeps people poor is the habit of instant gratification. This is the constant desire to enjoy something right now, even if it damages your future. It's the voice that says, why wait? You deserve it today. And while it feels good in the moment, it silently steals your long-term success. Think about how many people spend money they don't have, buying things they don't need, to impress people who don't even care. They put vacations, clothes, gadgets, and dinners on credit cards just to satisfy a short-term craving. But later, the bills arrive. The debt grows, the stress builds, and the future gets smaller and smaller. Instant gratification is the enemy of wealth because building wealth requires patience, discipline, and the ability to say no to what feels good now in order to say yes to what will feel great later. It's about choosing the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. There's a famous study known as the marshmallow test. Children were given a marshmallow and told they could eat it right away, or if they waited, they would get 2 marshmallows later. The ones who waited grew up to be more successful in life. Why? Because they learned the skill of delayed gratification. They understood that waiting brings greater rewards. The truth is simple. Every time you give in to instant gratification, you trade your future for a moment of pleasure. Every time you delay gratification, you invest in your future self. Poor people often live only for today. Rich people think about tomorrow. Ask yourself, how many times have you chosen the new phone, the fancy dinner, or the night out, instead of saving, investing, or building something for your future? If you repeat this habit for years, the result is always the same: financial struggle. Here's the action step. Start small. Train yourself to wait. If you want to buy something, delay the purchase for 24 hours. Many times you'll realize you didn't need it. Build the habit of patience. Redirect that money into savings or investments. Each small act of discipline builds your future. Remember this: wealth is built slowly. Poverty comes quickly. Break the habit of instant gratification, and you will unlock one of the greatest secrets to success: the ability to wait for a bigger reward. One of the most dangerous habits that keeps people poor has nothing to do with money itself. It's the habit of negative self-talk and the prison of limiting beliefs. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and if you believe you are destined to struggle, you will. If you constantly repeat to yourself phrases like, "I'm not good with money," "I'll never be rich," or "people like me don't succeed," you create a mental program that sabotages every opportunity that comes your way. Tracy once said, "You become what you think about most of the time." If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, then your actions will reflect that. You will hesitate when opportunities appear. You will play small when you should play big. You will settle for less when you are capable of so much more. Negative self-talk is like planting weeds in a garden. Instead of growing flowers of confidence and ambition, you allow toxic thoughts to choke your potential. Over time, these beliefs feel so normal, you don't even question them. You simply accept them as truth. But they are not the truth. They are lies you've repeated to yourself for so long that they feel real. Consider this example: a person who always says, "I'm not good at saving money." Because they believe it, they never even try to save. Or they say, "I don't deserve success," and so they unconsciously sabotage their own progress. This is not because they lack ability, but because their mind is programmed with beliefs that limit them. The wealthy think differently. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," they ask, "How can I afford it?" Instead of saying, "I don't know how," they ask, "How can I learn?" These small shifts in language create massive differences in results. The rich program their minds for growth, while the poor program their minds for limitation. Here's the action step. Start listening to the words you say to yourself every day. Catch those moments when you use negative phrases. Replace them immediately with empowering questions. For example, instead of "I'll never get out of debt," say, "What steps can I take today to start breaking free from debt?" Instead of "I can't do this," say, "I'm learning how to do this." Your words create your reality, and by changing your inner dialogue, you change the direction of your life. Remember this: your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant, it will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt and fear, you will harvest struggle. If you plant seeds of faith, discipline, and confidence, you will harvest abundance. Break free from negative self-talk, destroy your limiting beliefs, and you will open the door to possibilities you never imagined were available to you. Another habit that silently keeps people poor is surrounding yourself with the wrong people. You've probably heard the famous quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This is not just a catchy phrase, it is a reality of life. The people around you shape your mindset, your habits, and ultimately, your future. If you spend your time with negative, lazy, and unmotivated people, you will absorb their energy. If your closest friends complain all day about the economy, the government, or how unfair life is, you will eventually begin to think the same way. If the people you trust most are irresponsible with money, always in debt, or chasing quick pleasures, then their habits will rub off on you, whether you notice it or not. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to get in shape, but all your friends eat junk food, drink every weekend, and never exercise. How long do you think you will keep your commitment to health? The pressure of your environment will eventually pull you back down. The same thing happens with money and success. When you surround yourself with people who are stuck, who have given up, or who fear risk, they will drag you into the same cycle. On the other hand, if you spend time with people who are ambitious, disciplined, and focused on growth, you will naturally start to rise to their level. Their conversations will inspire you. Their habits will challenge you. Their standards will force you to aim higher. Success is contagious, just like failure is contagious. Brian Tracy often says, if you want to fly with the eagles, you cannot continue to scratch with the turkeys. And that's the truth. Many people remain poor not because of a lack of opportunity, but because they are unwilling to let go of relationships that hold them back. They fear judgment, rejection, or loneliness, so they stay surrounded by people who keep them stuck. Here's the action step. Audit your circle. Look closely at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Ask yourself, do they lift me up, or do they pull me down? Do they inspire me to grow, or do they encourage me to stay the same? Are they builders of dreams, or destroyers of hope? Your answers will tell you everything you need to know. If you discover that the majority of your circle is toxic, it doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off overnight. But you do need to spend less time with those who drain your energy and more time with those who expand your vision. This might mean finding mentors, joining communities of motivated individuals, or simply reading books from people who have already achieved what you want. Remember, you cannot change your life if you refuse to change your environment. Hanging around the wrong people will keep you poor in money, in mindset, and in spirit. Choose wisely, because the people closest to you will either anchor you to the ground or give you wings to fly. One of the most common and destructive habits that keeps people poor is procrastination. Procrastination is the silent killer of dreams. It's the habit of saying, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. It's the small voice that convinces you to delay the work that matters most, and in doing so, it robs you of opportunity, growth, and wealth. Think about this. Every major success in life begins with action. Every business, every invention, every book, every investment, every transformation started when someone made the decision to act. But procrastination delays that decision. It convinces you to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect feeling. And while you wait, time passes. Opportunities fade. Motivation dies. Brian Tracy calls this the law of diminishing intent. The longer you wait to do something, the less likely you are to ever do it. You say you'll start saving money next month, but when the month comes, another excuse appears. You say you'll begin your side business when things calm down, but life never calms down. You say you'll start exercising when you have more time, but that time never arrives. And slowly, year after year, your life remains the same. Here's the truth. Procrastination is not about laziness. It is about fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of not being perfect. Many people would rather delay action than face the possibility of making mistakes. But what they don't realize is that inaction is the greatest mistake of all. By procrastinating, you guarantee failure, because you never give yourself the chance to succeed. Let's look at an example. Imagine you want to start investing. You tell yourself, I'll start when I have more money. 5 years later, you still haven't invested a single dollar. If you had started with even small amounts, those investments would have grown. Instead, you lost years of compound growth simply because you delayed. That delay has a cost, and the cost is your future wealth. The wealthy understand that success is built on immediate action. They don't wait for motivation to arrive. They act first, and motivation follows. They know that progress is more important than perfection. Even small steps forward create momentum, and momentum is what destroys procrastination. Here's an action step you can apply right now. Use the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't think, don't plan, don't delay, just do it. And for bigger tasks, commit to starting for only 5 minutes. Once you begin, you will often find the energy to keep going. The hardest part of any task is not doing it, it's starting it. Another powerful method is Brian Tracy's famous principle. Eat that frog. The frog represents your biggest, most important task of the day, the one that will create the most progress in your life. The rule is simple. Do it first thing in the morning before you do anything else. By tackling your biggest challenge first, you build confidence, discipline, and momentum for the rest of the day. Remember this. Procrastination steals your time, your energy, and your dreams. It is a thief dressed in comfort. It whispers, "Relax, you can do it later." But later becomes never. If you truly want to break free from poverty, you must break free from procrastination. Decide today to become a person of action. Train yourself to say, "Do it now." Take one step forward, no matter how small. Because every time you act, you break the chains of procrastination. And the more you act, the more you build the habit of execution. Wealth, freedom, and success do not belong to those who wait. They belong to those who act. Stop waiting. Stop delaying. Stop procrastinating. Take action today, because your future is being written with every choice you make in the present. Another habit that keeps people poor is the refusal to invest in learning. Many people believe that once they finish school or college, their education is complete. They stop reading, they stop studying, and they stop seeking new knowledge. But here's the truth. The world is constantly changing, and if you are not learning, you are falling behind. Tracy often says, if you want to earn more, you have to learn more. Wealth is not built by luck. It is built by skills, knowledge, and the ability to adapt. The difference between people who grow rich and people who stay poor is often the difference between those who keep learning and those who don't. Think about this. The average person spends hours every day scrolling through social media, watching television, or consuming entertainment that adds no value to their future. But how many minutes do they spend reading a book, listening to an audiobook, or taking a course that could improve their skills? The answer is usually close to zero. This habit creates poverty because it keeps the mind stagnant. A stagnant mind cannot create new opportunities. Now imagine someone who invests just 30 minutes a day in learning. They read books about money, leadership, and personal development. They listen to audiobooks while driving. They study new skills online. Over a year, that's more than 180 hours of education. Over 5 years, that's almost 1,000 hours of new knowledge. Do you think their life will look the same as the person who never learns? Of course not. One person is moving forward, while the other is stuck. The poor often see learning as an expense. They say, "I can't afford that book," or "I don't have time for that course." The wealthy see learning as an investment. They understand that one idea from a book, one strategy from a seminar, or one skill learned online could completely change their financial future. Here's an example. A person who refuses to learn about money will continue to make the same mistakes. Overspending, using credit cards badly, saving nothing, investing nothing. Another person who studies financial education learns how to budget, how to invest, and how to build assets. Over time, their paths look completely different. The first remains in poverty. The second moves toward freedom. Here's the action step. Commit to lifelong learning. Read at least one book every month. Listen to audiobooks in your car instead of music. Replace 30 minutes of social media with 30 minutes of studying a skill that will increase your value in the marketplace. Turn your free time into learning time. Remember this. Your brain is your greatest asset. The more you invest in it, the more valuable you become. The person who refuses to learn is choosing poverty. The person who keeps learning is choosing success. Break the habit of neglecting your mind, and you will unlock opportunities you never thought possible. One of the most powerful habits that separates the wealthy from the poor is discipline. A lack of discipline is a silent thief that steals opportunities, time, and potential. Without discipline, even the most talented and intelligent people fail to achieve their goals. They know what they should do, but they lack the ability to follow through consistently. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. It is what allows you to wake up early, save money regularly, invest wisely, and work on long-term projects even when you don't feel motivated. Without it, good intentions are meaningless. You can have dreams of wealth, success, and freedom, but without discipline, they remain just dreams. Think about this. Successful people are not extraordinary because they are smarter or luckier. They're extraordinary because they consistently do what others will not do. They follow routines, manage their time, and make decisions that align with their long-term goals. Discipline is their secret weapon. Poor people, on the other hand, give in to impulses. They spend when they shouldn't, sleep when they should work, and delay actions that would change their lives. Here's an example. Imagine two people with the same income. One has discipline. He budgets, invests, learns new skills, and takes action every day toward his goals. The other has no discipline. He spends impulsively, wastes time, and procrastinates. 10 years later, their lives look completely different. Discipline builds wealth slowly but surely, while a lack of discipline guarantees stagnation. Discipline also creates freedom. It may sound counterintuitive, but the more disciplined you are, the more control you have over your life. Discipline in saving and investing leads to financial freedom. Discipline in learning leads to opportunities and growth. Discipline in health leads to energy and longevity. Without it, you are a slave to circumstance, emotions, and bad habits. Here's the action step. Start small. Build one new discipline at a time. It could be waking up early, exercising, saving a portion of your income, or reading daily. Commit to it for 30 days. Once it becomes a habit, add another. Over time, these small disciplines compound into enormous results. Remember this: discipline is not a punishment. It is the pathway to freedom. Wealth, success, and personal growth do not come to those who lack discipline. They come to those who consistently choose the long-term benefit over short-term comfort. If you break the habit of undisciplined living, you will unlock a level of success that most people never even imagine. One of the most common habits that keeps people poor is relying on a single source of income. Most people believe that their paycheck, no matter how stable, is enough to secure their future. But the reality is harsh. Depending on only one income is risky, limiting, and often keeps you trapped in financial struggle. Relying solely on a job makes you vulnerable to layoffs, economic changes, and unexpected expenses. It creates a fragile foundation that can collapse at any moment. Wealthy people understand this truth. They never put all their eggs in one basket. They create multiple streams of income, diversifying their earnings so that even if one source is threatened, they continue to grow financially. Think about it like this. Imagine a river flowing into your life. If there is only one stream, a small blockage or drought can dry up your flow completely. But if you have multiple streams feeding that river, even if one dries up, the river continues to flow, bringing abundance and opportunity. That is the power of multiple income streams. Examples of multiple streams include investments, side businesses, real estate, freelance work, royalties, or online ventures. Even small additional income sources add up over time and create financial security. People who ignore this habit stay stuck living paycheck to paycheck. They wait for promotions, raises, or lucky breaks, never realizing they have the power to create their own opportunities. Brian Tracy emphasizes that the wealthy do not rely on luck. They rely on strategy. They build systems that generate income for them while they sleep, while they learn, and while they grow. Ignoring multiple streams of income is a habit that limits your freedom and your potential. Here's the action step. Identify at least one way you can start a second stream of income today. It could be small, like freelance work, consulting, or selling a product online. The key is to start. Once you experience the benefits, you can expand into more streams. Each new source strengthens your financial foundation and brings you closer to true freedom. Remember this: your income should not depend on one person, one job, or one opportunity. Multiple streams of income are a safety net, a growth strategy, and a path to wealth. Break the habit of relying on only one source, and you will open doors to opportunities, stability, and financial independence that you never thought possible. Another habit that silently keeps people poor is the habit of complaining and blaming. Many people believe that life is happening to them, that circumstances, the economy, or other people are responsible for their struggles. They spend more time pointing fingers than taking action, and in doing so, they give away their power. Complaining feels momentarily satisfying. It releases frustration and allows you to vent. But the truth is, constant complaining does nothing to change your situation. In fact, it makes it worse. When you focus on what's wrong instead of what you can control, you train your mind to see obstacles rather than opportunities. You create a negative mental environment where progress is impossible. Blaming others is equally destructive. When you say, "It's my boss's fault I'm not promoted," or "The economy is holding me back," you are handing over responsibility for your life. You become a victim, and victims rarely become wealthy. Wealthy people take full responsibility for their outcomes. They accept that while they cannot control everything, they can control their responses, their actions, and their mindset. Here's a simple example. Imagine two people facing a financial setback. One complains about taxes, the market, or their employer, spending hours venting and feeling angry. The other analyzes the situation, looks for solutions, learns from the setback, and takes action to improve. 10 years later, the first person is stuck, still struggling. The second has grown wealth, confidence, and freedom because they focused on solutions instead of problems. Brian Tracy emphasizes that complaining and blaming not only waste time, but also drain your energy. Energy is your most valuable resource. Each complaint, each excuse, is a loss of focus that could have been spent creating value, learning a skill, or taking steps toward financial freedom. Here's the action step. Start monitoring yourself. Every time you catch yourself complaining or blaming, pause and ask, what can I do to fix this? Replace every complaint with one constructive action. Over time, this rewires your mind to focus on solutions rather than problems. Remember this: wealth and success belong to those who take responsibility. Complaining and blaming keep you poor because they give your power away and trap you in a cycle of inaction. Break this habit, reclaim your responsibility, and you will discover the energy, focus, and confidence to take control of your life and create the financial future you deserve. One of the final and most powerful habits that keeps people poor is the fear of taking risks. Fear is natural. It protects us from danger. But when fear controls your decisions in life, it becomes a prison that limits your potential, your income, and your freedom. People who are unwilling to take risks settle for safety, comfort, and the familiar. And while comfort feels good in the short term, it almost always guarantees long-term mediocrity. Fear of failure is the biggest form of risk aversion. Many people look at opportunities and immediately think, what if I fail? They avoid starting a business, investing in themselves, or pursuing a higher-paying career because they are terrified of making a mistake. But here's the reality. Failure is not the enemy. Failure is a teacher. Each risk you take, even if it doesn't succeed the first time, provides lessons, experience, and growth that move you closer to success. Tracy often says, the person who takes risks is the person who wins in life. Wealthy people understand that calculated risks are necessary for growth. They don't act recklessly, but they do step outside their comfort zone, embrace uncertainty, and pursue opportunities others are too afraid to pursue. Risk opens doors that safety never will. Consider this: the person who refuses to invest in themselves, start a business, or learn new skills because they fear failure will likely remain stuck financially. The person who embraces risk, learns from mistakes, and adapts will grow, innovate, and create wealth. Risk is the pathway to opportunity. Without it, there is no progress. Here is the action step. Start small. Take one calculated risk this week, something that challenges you but is manageable. It could be applying for a higher-paying position, starting a side project, or reaching out to a mentor. The key is to get comfortable with discomfort. Each small risk builds courage, and over time, your confidence grows, and fear loses its power over you. Remember this: comfort is the enemy of success, and fear is its strongest ally. The people who stay poor often cling to safety, while the wealthy take risks, learn, and grow. If you want to break free from poverty, you must confront fear, take action despite uncertainty, and embrace calculated risks. The rewards on the other side are far greater than the temporary safety of staying small. As we come to the end of this journey, remember this: breaking the habits that keep you poor is not a one-time event. It is a commitment to yourself, to your future, and to the life you truly deserve. Every habit we discussed, from living without a budget to overcoming fear, shapes your financial destiny. The choice is yours. Continue following the same patterns, or take control and create the life you've always imagined. Change begins with awareness, but it is sustained through action. Knowledge alone is not enough. You must implement what you've learned every day, consistently. Start by taking one step today. Review your spending. Delay gratification. Surround yourself with the right people. Commit to learning. Take responsibility for your choices. And most importantly, act despite fear. Every small decision compounds over time, creating massive results. The truth is simple. Wealth, freedom, and success are not reserved for the lucky. They are earned by those who are willing to break free from the habits that hold them back. Your future self is waiting, but only if you take action now. Commit to change, embrace discipline, and step into the life you're capable of living. Remember, the journey will not always be easy, but it will be worth it. The habits you break today will define the opportunities you create tomorrow. Choose wisely, act boldly, and never underestimate your ability to transform your life. Your financial freedom begins with the decisions you make this very moment.